Hi, teachers. I am Kate DeMio, literacy consultant from Lake Orion Community Schools. Today, I would like to take you on a little tour of some of the assessments that are included with the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project, Reading, Writing, and Phonics Units of Study. Additionally, I'd like you to have a sneak peek at the new Teachers College website and look at the assessment materials that are available there. The bulk of our time will be spent taking a look at some of the tools that come with the units and how we can use them for assessment. Let's start by unpacking some of the online resources. What's in the Heinemann online resources and how we might use those. So here I am in the Writing Units of Study in the online resources. And I'm going to come all the way down here into the writing pathways. Okay, so some things you might be familiar with. You'll find the on-demand assessment prompts and the rubrics. You may not have realized that the illustrated checklists are only available in the online resources. For those of you who teach sixth grade, if you're interested in the illustrated checklist, you'll want to ask a fifth grade counterpart to send that to you. Those are not in your online resources. Also, at the very bottom of this section, you'll find a couple of little gems. First, you'll find a rubric for the writing process. So you can actually find a progression that takes you through what should generating ideas look like at this time of year? What should drafting look like at this time of year? And this is something that often people don't know is on the website. Additionally, you'll find an on-demand prompt for writing about reading. And with this writing about reading prompt, you'll also find rubrics and scoring materials. So these are another little tiny jewel that's embedded that you might not know about. Now, if we move into the reading kit, you'll find that every unit has a pre-test and a post-test and a sample learning progression. Additionally, you'll find if you go to the reading pathways section, you'll find reading progressions and writing progressions and text band materials. Okay, I'm going to go right back up here and take you then to the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project website. And at the Teachers College website, you'll find another slew of resources that you may not even know that we had. So if you go to the project's website and you go to resources and select resource catalog, then you'll want to come down here and select virtual writing assessments. There's a lot of brand new assessment tools that have not been available prior to this year. This is actually designed for students to support them with the narrative writing prompt. Additionally, in this website, you're going to find some videos giving kids directions on how to do the prompt. And one thing that I really like on the website, if you again go to resource catalog and then you go to the reading running records section, you'll find a blank in-book assessment. So in addition to the regular running records that are used for benchmarks, these allow you to do a running record on virtually any book that the child might be reading. And then finally on the website, you will find assessments that can be used in grades 6 through 9. So here you'll find some performance assessments for the 6th grade unit of study, deep study of character. So don't forget about not only the Heinemann resources, but also the Teachers College website when you're thinking about and looking for assessment materials. Let's start by thinking about how a chart might be used as an assessment tool. So this chart I printed from the Heinemann online resources. It's the black and white chart, but when I selected print, I selected 8 per page. Now, one of the things that I do with these charts is I'll turn them into conferring forms. So as I'm walking around the room or listening in during turn and talk, I write the names of students that might be having a hard time. And what'll happen is eventually I'll end up with 3 or 4 kids, and that will form a small group. Other times I might put a star next to a kid's name, knowing that I could ask that student to teach a small group on this particular chart piece. So other uses for the chart, sometimes I cut out the pieces and I give the kids one of the chart pieces to put on their book, or sometimes I'll even give them a choice to choose one that they want to really tune into and pay attention. And every time they find themselves doing the work that's on that particular chart piece, they mark it with a tally mark. This really helps with student accountability. I've done the same thing with their reading notebooks. Again, asking them each time in their reading notebook that they find themselves doing this work to mark it with a tally mark. And again, this just really goes a long way in terms of holding kids accountable for the work that you do in conferring. Another thing that can be really helpful with these chart pieces is to have kids do sorts. Now, you can use like a little container like this, like a Band-Aid container to hold the chart pieces in, or you can use just an envelope. And one nice thing about the envelope is a lot of times I will have kids tape this into their notebook so that the pieces are all right in their reading notebook. So anyway, they take these pieces and they would sort them. These are the things that I've got, and these are things that I'm working on. And this physical action of actually picking it up and looking at it and sorting it into piles make it a lot stickier for kids and really get them reflecting. If they do this with partnership, you'll hear really great conversation. So similarly, I have used the goal and the techniques chart that come with the writing units of study. So if you're not familiar with this, you can find it in the online resources. And these are different things that we want kids trying out in their writing. And just like I did with the chart pieces, I've had kids sort these. These are things I'm doing. These are things I'm still working on. The other thing I often have kids do is highlight something that they want to work on, or even put a star or a heart on something they're really good at. Using this in conferring can be really powerful when you ask kids, what is it that you would like help with or you want to work on? Rather than saying, I don't know, they can choose something from this sheet. The other thing you can do is actually create this digitally and make it a drag and drop Google form, and you can actually have kids really planning daily what it is that they want to work on, or they can even just, write the date that they worked on that particular thing on their form. So lots of different ways that you can use these goals and technique cards. In the if-then book, in the back of the book, you'll find some conferring scenarios. So you can find these for narrative, you can find them for informational, and you can find them for argument writing. And what these are is looking at each grade specifically, identifying where the biggest problems tend to be, and then giving you a conferring scenario for those. Well, I use this as an assessment. I go around, I collect data, write down the names of kids that might need help. And the best part about this is if they need your help, the lesson plan is right here, and even a visual to leave the kids with. In your reading units of study, you'll find something called the bands of text complexity. Takes each level band, and underneath that band, it gives you the different things that kids need to be working on within that band. So one of the things that you can do for individual children, so let's say this is Kate's form, and Kate's currently at KLM, I can start to underline the things that I see Kate doing, or highlighting the things that I see Kate securing. Therefore, I know what I still need to work on with her to get her ready to move up to that next band. The other thing that I do is cut out the level where a child's at and tape it together in a bookmark. Okay. And in this way, kids in that level band know what it is that they should be focusing on in order to push themselves toward that next band. We can also talk about the checklist as a tool that can be used for assessment. So like the goal and technique cards, and similar to the chart pieces, you can certainly use this as an assessment tool where you write down students' names that need to work on a particular thing. And then when you find that you have 3 or 4 names, you would do a small group on that particular topic. Alternatively, you could have kids use this to set goals for themselves, either daily goals, or you might have a goal for this particular unit. But there's other ways that you can use this, and that's what I want to show you today, some other options. So one of the things that I often do with kids, especially kids who are having a hard time with this checklist, is I will take just one piece of the checklist and pop it out, and then go to the student writing samples and put a student writing sample in that the students and I can work together and evaluate that piece's ending right before they try it on their own. Oftentimes I use this as an alternative to share. Another way you can do the same activity is I will take the checklist, but a whole chunk of it. So I might take the entire craft section of the checklist. And then I go to the online resources, the mentor text, and pull just a chunk of writing. And the students and I, we work together to evaluate this piece of writing, followed by the students again trying to evaluate that piece of their own writing. So much of self-assessment is difficult because the kids really don't know how to do that assessment. And it's really hard to do on your own work if you haven't done it on someone else's. Still some other ways to use the checklist as an assessment. Have the kids go through that checklist, picking out something that they're really, really good at and attaching it to their piece of writing for a hallway display. This form of self-assessment really increases kids' writing confidence. You can use the mentor text that come with the units of study. Highlight something in the unit of study. So for example, or in the mentor text. So example, I highlighted the transitions. And then here I highlighted the transitions. And then in that same color, I asked kids to highlight the transitions in their own paper. This form of self-assessment really gets kids not only in the habit of looking critically at their own writing, but also looking for evidence. One of the things that kids really struggle with on the M step is ranking. They struggle with when 3 answers are really good. They struggle with picking which one of those 3 is actually the best. So one of the things that I've done with the mentor text is taken those mentor texts and pulled out different sentences. And then I ask kids to rank those sentences. Which one is the best sentence, the most descriptive, or uses punctuation most effectively, right? And as kids are talking to their partners about the answer, I'm listening in and assessing students. An alternative to that would be having them write out their answers and submit them to you. Again, this is excellent assessment work, working toward the M step, because I know that this is one of the most challenging aspects of M step. The last thing I'd like us to talk about today, I'd like us to talk about these assessments, the assessments that come with the reading kits. And I want to show you just a little bit different way that I use those. So initially, I give the pre-assessment to all students. And then I actually write on a Post-it note the question from the story. But I write it in a transferable way. So this is what I mean by that. What kind of person is Mr. Tillian? I just say, what kind of person is blank, so that it would work on any book. Okay. Because once we give this pre-assessment and we see where the kids' strengths and weaknesses are, we can decide which one, or maybe even all of these, should we focus on during the unit. And so then, when I use a picture book with students, maybe one that's not in the book, I'm putting these 4 Post-it notes in that picture book, and I'm reiterating the skills that are in this unit. I might do that 1 or 2 times. At some spots, I might even collect some student responses to one of these questions. So like during your read aloud, you might say to them, what's the theme of this book? Can you use examples from Eve Bunting's memory string? And then you have kids turn those in. Sorting those and then deciding who might need a small group before your final assessment. When I'm doing checks with students and I want to see how they're doing with this work, what I typically do is just have kids take a piece of paper, fold it into 4. The first question will be about character traits, the second about character change, the third about part to whole, and the fourth about theme. Just like it was here. One other little tidbit I'll give you is I actually have the kids write their name on all 4 of these corners. And the reason I do that is so after the fact, if I want to paper cut these and sort them into groupings so that I can really teach kids what it is they need in order to prepare for the final version of this assessment. Wow, we did a lot in a really short period of time. We went to the Heinemann website and explored some of the online resources that maybe we just need reminders about. We looked at the Teachers College Reading Writing Project website and unpacked some of the new assessments that we maybe hadn't seen yet. We talked about using the If-Then book as a resource for assessment. We talked about using the checklists for assessment and the technique cards that come with our writing kits. We even talked about using the charts for assessments. We talked about using the mentor text for assessments and the leveled resources like the KLM charts. Finally, we talked about alternative ways to use the pre and the post assessment materials. We really covered a lot in a short period of time, and I hope this session leaves you thinking about new and alternative ways to use the materials that come with your kit for assessment. I hope you have a great afternoon.